This is our surprise bilge beer. See if it's still good.
It's been a very long day.
Welcome to our AU8 that we were supposed to do a month ago.
Technically 2 months ago.
Well, better late than never, right?
That's what we're hoping.
Let's hop into that first question.
Forgive us for the very late. You probably don't even remember what
Yeah,
you asked.
it's gonna be a surprise for everybody.
We are real time. I know that's been kind of a common question. People wondering the time delay. Well, we are working on the anchor chain.
Yeah, today is Wednesday. We've been filming for 2 days, and I'll be editing for 3 days to hopefully get the video out by Sunday.
Yep. So
that's real time.
You're seeing whatever we're doing that week by Sunday, which is kind of a unsustainable and slightly uncomfortable place to be, but also kind of cool at the same time.
Exhilarating.
So this one's from Ron Bowling. He says, what is the biggest lifestyle changes, good and bad, that you made when you went from living in the RV to living on the boat?
I would say as far as bad or challenging goes, we're dealing with right now, and that's being on a small remote island, not having access to things. So from little things like frozen blueberries and strawberries, like fruit that you might like for a smoothie, you can't really get, and to big things like boat parts that are impossible to get here.
Yeah, something as simple as a paint that you might need. You can't even sometimes get that. It's the simplest things. It just becomes very challenging. And COVID has made it
even more difficult,
because less ferries, less shipments are coming in.
Can't go down to the AutoZone and pick up the generic paint that we can put in our tank that anybody else can get for their automobile. But
which is more the remoteness of it, and you don't have to do that if you're living on a boat. But I would say that is definitely one of the biggest challenges from RV to boat. RV, we still had the choice, even if it was a 6-hour drive to get to what we needed to. You could solve your problem, you just had to move to do it. Here, it's not always that simple.
But on the flip side, it makes us more apt to take on challenges that we wouldn't have in the RV, where like
you would have taken it to a service center, you would have had somebody else do it. Why would you bother doing that thing?
And I absolutely loathe the provision days that we did in the RV, because we would literally spend 1 or 2 full days just like running around every store in the world and like stuck in traffic and people and everything.
Errand days, he hated errand days.
It just exhausts me. And you just don't get that here, so that is a good thing.
Yeah, you know, like, you could really just run yourself all over the place, getting very specific things from very specific places. And you know, when
here you got one choice. All the grocery stores have the exact same thing.
Yep, and it is what it is, and you just get used to it. It doesn't mean we miss certain things, for sure, but it's like a level of appreciation. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. All of those things are 100% true. So this one's from Hinthorn. Are you thinking about getting a new/different catamaran? If so, why and when? Question 2, how far west do you envision going on this leg of the journey? Thailand, circumnavigate. What's the 3-year game plan, if there is one?
Jeez.
COVID doesn't allow for a 3-year game plan, nor does sailing. You have a broad, big picture. Yeah, and that's, plans change way too frequently. Weather changes. Who knows? Something breaks on the boat and you've got to detour and go a different direction because you got to get something fixed. So many variables.
I can tell you we don't plan more than a year in advance. And that's about as good as it's going to get. And right now, like, we know we have to go to New Zealand or Australia, somewhere that can do real boat work, because we do have a few things that can only be done in a mainland country. So New Zealand probably for us is the next thing. If we can get there, borders open after cyclone season, that's probably where we'll head.
As far as getting a new boat, I think because sometimes we do videos about buying or whatever, we do that to help all of you who are asking questions about that stuff, not necessarily because we're looking ourselves. There's a sense of curiosity there when it comes to just like looking at other boats, seeing other boats, but actively searching or looking, no way.
No.
We're good. It's going to be what's going to be the future? I think that's more the stuff that we're always curious about. Okay, so Nick Hill. Knowing what you know after having curiosity for several years, what would you pay more attention to or less attention to in the buying process? We didn't know diddly freaking squat about sailing. We were looking, so we were relying very heavily on Kent.
Yeah. And fortunately, like we said before we ever met Kent, was we got his name from our friends Pat and Allie of Bumfuzzle, and they said he's an honest guy, and that says, like, that's almost unheard of in the
world of brokers.
Yeah, got us into, I think, the best boat for sailing around the world that was sort of in our budget.
He was still a good broker because he upsold us big time. Only $100,000 over our initial budget of what we gave him.
Yeah, and sure, like, I'd love it if our bridge deck was a little bit higher, and I'd love it if we had a little bit more visibility from the helm.
Yeah.
But I get in like the Leopard 45 or a Lagoon, and I think, man, you're so up here, you're so exposed. Like, yeah, it's nice because you can see more, but you're really exposed and separated, and especially in the Lagoon, like.
Yeah, like those raised fly bridges. No way, man. Like, we have friends who have those boats and they love them, and that's awesome for them. It's not something we would personally want. But as far as like understanding what makes a good blue water boat, those were things we didn't fully understand, which is kind of going to the actual like hull design and understanding that, because we looked at boats that we originally in our minds from the internet thought we knew what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the end, that would have been a terrible choice. Yeah. And Kent very kindly steered us away from that direction.
No, I can't say that I could give you any real quality information other than we're happy with our boat, and she's been great to us. I mean, she's a lot of work, but any boat is a lot of work.
Because there's that whole debate, where people say like, oh, you're not looking at a house, like the kitchen and the galley and all these things don't matter. It's how well does it sail and this, that, and the other. And they are correct. The first thing should be how stable is the boat? What's it gonna sail like? Are you gonna get loads of slap underneath there? What's the ride gonna be like? There's so many things to consider. There's so many things to consider. I guess that's the big thing. There are so many things to know and understand, which is why we went for a buyer's broker, because we needed somebody else who knew that stuff because we didn't. But comfort and livability is still something very serious. We are consulting right now with a couple of patrons who are, getting closer to their purchase date, and he's super tall. Scott, yes, I am talking about you. And that
6'7", right? I think 6'5", 6'7", yeah. Oof.
Or no, even taller than that. That's
tall. He's tall.
Joe and the other guy. Anyway, we have a lot of tall people out there in the crew, but that height is a real serious thing, because if you're consistently hunched over all the time, you're not very comfortable, so you're not very happy, and that's so it limits your choices. And then maybe it's not like your first choice boat, but if it's the one with the actual head clearance, it kind of makes it pretty awesome. Okay. Oh, speaking of Scott, I'm just calling you out left and right. Scott and Denise. Okay. Due to the overwhelming costs, we have insurance questions, both boat and health. Boat, best source for finding companies, premiums for being inside hurricane area. So basically, this is just all about boat insurance and health insurance.
So boat insurance, we keep wanting to do a video about it. It's just such a moving target. Every year it changes. Every year we basically...
Right now it's changing?
Yeah, denied coverage basically every year. We were told it would go down. We were told it'd get easier. No, it's only gotten more expensive and more complicated.
Every year.
And there's rumors that the company we've used for the past 2 years, who's been insuring us, they might be dropping everybody here in the South Pacific. But we won't know until April when our insurance rolls around.
It's Novamar, who we have now.
Yeah.
But we've had to switch every single year. I guess we've had Novamar for 2 years.
We renew. 2 years, yeah.
This is our second, but we're coming up on it again. So we'll see. It's very difficult if you're an American citizen. That is your number one problem, is being an American citizen. If you're from somewhere else in the world, you can get insurance. It's not that big of a deal. Americans are very tricky, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
Hard to get the coverage at all, and a lot of that has to do with just rules, regulations, but also because of all of the hurricanes.
Yeah.
It just wiped out a lot of the insurance companies, so not a lot of them exist anymore. They literally just had to drop everybody, transfer them to another insurance company. It's been quite the thing.
Novamar, W.R. Hodgins, Bill Hodgins. We used him for a while. Pantaneous. There's a lady in our Susan Everhard, I think. Yeah, she's super kind, very nice, and I talk to her every year just to see if she can get me a better deal. But Pantaneous is expensive. If you're like sticking in your area and like going to the Bahamas maybe, then we've heard like Geico and Progressive are now doing like further distance. Like before it was like 50 miles offshore. Now I think they're going like 100 or 200 or 300. Like,
they're becoming like those kind of like more what you would think of like automotive maybe. And recreational insurance companies are now getting more into like serious boating coverage. So
but not usually worldwide, so
no,
it's gonna end at some point.
Yeah, but depending on where you are, that has a lot to do with it as well. How far you're planning on sailing offshore has a lot to do with it. What body of water are you going to be in a hurricane box? Are you not going to be? Biggest piece of advice I can tell you is ask a lot of questions, because most brokers are going to give you a generic piece of paper to fill out, and that's kind of the way you have to do it. You go to an insurance broker. You fill out a generic piece of paper, and that's your submission. But you need way more information in that. You need to know exactly how many nautical miles, how many hours,
sails, how many places you've been, how long you've been doing it, what the size of the vessels were, what the type of vessels, like all that. The bigger resume you can give them, the more impressive it is, and they go, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah, the more information about your vessel, the safety equipment on board. Everything. It really truly is a lot. It's a lot of heavy information, but it makes a huge difference. We did not know this at first, and I have absolutely drilled some of the insurance agents going, why don't you tell us this? If this is what I needed,
just tell me.
Or why did I get denied? Tell me why I got denied. Like, we have to dig for that information because they have to go to the underwriter and find out. Anyway, insurance is a nightmare.
And for health insurance, we have a company, I can't remember the name of it at the moment.
We've had a couple of different ones.
Yeah, but it's really not that expensive, and it's coverage worldwide except for the U.S. So as we're out here, they will fly us probably to New Zealand or Australia. We get a choice in it. Yeah, but like general health care, we've gotten dermatology visits, we've done dental, we've done a couple emergency room visits. It's really, it's super affordable. Everything's been super affordable.
Outside of the USA, healthcare gets a lot more simple. When we were in South Africa, I took care of a whole bunch of like all our annuals and like dental appointments. We did it all while we were there. And then as for the insurance company for that, look for expat insurance.
I'm gonna check the camera.
Moving right on, Eric Epstein. I have a question relating to the maturing of your video talents over time.
Oh.
Well, if you go back and watch those early ones, pretty rough. I perceive that while your talents have grown, your eye for shots and your editing have matured. Unlike many YouTubers, your improvements are subtle. At least I have not seen you find the need to reinvent your video style. My question is, how did you find such a solid story outline early on, and what factors beyond new technology and maturing skills influence your subtle refinements over time?
So my background, I was a photographer, so I had a general understanding of light and telling stories through photography. So I knew the details matter, and that kind of is how we started video. We knew that lighting mattered and details mattered, and so we knew that's kind of how you tell a story.
Storytelling has definitely evolved over time. And we still, that's always a constant evolution.
Just to think about the story and then write it down and then try to do it in a natural way, like, because it's just going to unfold. Like, we're not like planning things, it's just going to unfold, but we have like sort of an idea.
An outline.
Oh man, but in the beginning,
otherwise it's a hot mess, and then you're just all over the place, and you have way too much footage to edit. And we've been in that scenario so many times I cannot tell you.
Yeah, I mean, this chain video that's going to come out this weekend, I mean, I've probably got like 10 hours of footage I have to watch. And we're very focused on what we want, but we got all this B-roll that we want to throw in, and we want to make it more exciting. And like when I'm talking
nothing
about,
ever goes as planned.
Of course.
You think
it's a 2-hour job. Here we are, 20 hours later.
I thought this one for sure was gonna be like, it's so simple.
Easy. Yeah, no.
Rookie mistake.
No. And I do think one thing that we learned early on was not putting ourselves in a box, because like in the beginning we were like, okay, we need to go to this place, and then we're gonna go to this place, and then we're gonna do this thing, and then it's gonna be sunset, and then there'd be a hiccup. Something wouldn't happen right, and then all of a sudden, like,
You don't know what to do
the
with
whole
yourself.
story would collapse, and you get grumpy, and you get frustrated, and you're anxious, and you
Because
don't.
the day didn't go how you expected it to go.
So now we just sort of roll with it, and that means we film probably more than we should, but it's easier to, well, not easier. I wouldn't say it's easier.
It's more enjoyable
It's more
to film it that way, because then you're just like, whatever happens, that's what we film. And the storyline, not needing to reinvent ourselves, I would say in the very beginning, like especially our early like RV videos and everything else, those are very different from what we produce today. And that's the stuff, we had nothing else to go by. There weren't a lot of YouTubers doing anything like what there are now.
Yeah.
And the only thing we had to go by was what you saw on like the Travel Channel. So that's mostly what we were emulating.
Yeah. I do think there was a division when we went on the Alaska trip. Like, I feel in my
Fair
mind, there was like, we were doing this thing, and then we said, we're going to Alaska, we're going to document it in a different way and try not to be too Travel Channel-y.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that was like a point where we hit that turning point.
Yeah.
Tangent.
Woo!
Careful of what you ask.
I hope you were ready for an hour and a half talk here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but Inside
Yeah.
Scoops, this is the stuff we don't
Yeah.
cover on the channel. I think that's what these are about.
That's why we time coded in the thingy, so you can jump
Oh,
forward if
you
you're
just
not
signed
interested.
yourself up for that?
Doggone it.
Now you gotta
You're
watch
doing
the
this
whole-
one. You're editing this one.
Very true. Okay. Dennis, thank you for documenting the evolution of your sailing life. Thank you for watching. You are role models for lifelong learning. My question
We
is
always are learning.
a practical one. How do you clean and maintain your camera and video gear?
Oh God.
The constant exposure to salt water, sand, and other factors determine the camera. Yeah. So this is 100% Jason, because I'm kind of crappy at this.
That is. I use the divine cleaning. So basically, I just pray that it lasts, and then when it dies, I just cuss a lot, and then
No, that
replace
is
it.
not true.
In theory, I should have like it's like a box that removes the humidity, like a humidor for cigars, but it actually removes the humidity.
Instead of ads.
Yeah, so I should have that to remove the salt. Certain things are built into my nature. When I change a lens, I turn my back to the wind and I put the lens here. I hold the sensor down because I don't want any salt to get in the top of the lens, or like in the lens, or inside the sensor. So it's like little steps like that help.
It is built into, like, your brain operates that way because he's been a photographer for so long, so he understands electronics in that way that I would say the average person does not. I don't think about those things. I do a little bit more now, but I mean, we've been married for a long time. He's a crutch, so why do I have to learn what I've got him with me all the time. Why do I need to know it?
And I think about my computers, and I put
Yes.
them on like risers, and my computer has a big fan underneath it, so it helps keep it cool because we're in hot, humid temperatures. And
But you think to take like a damp cloth and he wipes everything off.
Yeah.
And most people that I have seen don't do that with their equipment. It doesn't last as long. But
yeah, if I'm out and it's windy, then I know that wind has salt in it, and now my camera is covered in salt. So yeah, it's a damp cloth.
Yep.
Wipe everything down, let it dry.
Yeah.
Stick it in front of a fan.
And I would say, our last camera, we just got this one because we went back to the US, which is the A7 III, which is what we're filming this on right now. Before that, we had the RX10, which was by Sony. And we had that camera for 3.5 years. Yeah. So we really do use our gear for a long time. We do not upgrade often. We're always adding like maybe a new tool in, but it's because that one is now 2 or 3 years old or died.
Yeah. Same thing with computers.
Yeah.
So, and we always try to buy the higher end if we can, because we know it's worth it in the long run. It's more water resistant. It's more powerful. It's just better. So we try not to budget when it comes to cameras and computers.
I would say on a lot of gear, we do that. We choose quality. Like, it doesn't mean that you're going for luxury. Luxury and quality are very different things. Quality means to spec, right? So like, I want a good tool that is going to do the job that I'm looking for it to do. And if I cheap out on that, it's probably not going to last as long. It won't keep up with the time. So the quality will be degraded in comparison to anything new coming out so fast that if you choose really good gear, you can have it for longer, and we go for the long game.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. So, yeah, good quality equipment makes a big difference. But then Jason is very good about remembering to wipe off all of the equipment, to get that salt water off of there, to store them in a right way and not expose it to the spray if he's going to change a
keep it out of the sun as much as possible. Like put a blanket over it. Yeah, when we get the salt water, like the underwater cameras, stick them in a tub of fresh water and push all the buttons over and over. And yeah.
And that goes like, that's all of your equipment, anything electronic, anything you want to last on a boat, you do that with it. Yeah. James, and he says, James Wynn, right?
Yeah, Wynn.
Yeah. It's very different spelling. Say the last name. Living in isolation, only 2 people. Do you guys ever need alone time or time out between each other? Who's the admiral? Is there any weather moments during passage that made you concerned for your safety or your ability to get through it?
Wow, that's
top 5 cruising locations so far.
Oh.
Okay, we can't answer all those, but we'll go for some of them.
Okay. Do we ever need time apart? Yes. Yeah. Sometimes, like, it's just something stupid sets you off, and you just get grumpy, and we don't yell at each other or hit each other or anything like that, and like we're not like storming off the boat like I hate you. It's just like
it's all of a sudden you get really snippy about really stupid stuff,
and then I say something that's not the right thing to say, and then because it's stupid, because I'm a guy and I just say stupid things, and then that just like escalates it a little bit, and then I know, okay, I need to go over here, put my headphones on, and edit some video.
Yeah, he doesn't listen to any I guess, what would you call that? Like, not really psychology, but...
No, that's the problem. I listen to these podcasts that talk about how you should, like, I hear you, I understand what you're saying, but then from there, I don't remember where it's supposed to go. So I understand what you're saying, and I know I've done something wrong.
Like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Draw some words.
I get the idea behind it, but then I just mess it up.
It's like in one ear and out the other. Selective hearing. Yeah. No. So, of course, we have the same struggles that everybody else does. We're not magically perfect. We certainly have our times. But it's a constant effort, too. You have to be very self-aware, which is, you learn that being on a boat or being in an RV taught us the same thing. Working together taught us the same thing. Like, you just don't get to hash your crap out all the time, especially if you're on a job. And we work together a lot, like pre-RV, pre-sailing. And if you can work with your partner and still have a good relationship at home, it speaks volumes, because it's a lot of togetherness and a lot of like decision making. Jason usually had we were usually in very different positions when we were working together, but sometimes he was the boss and I needed to listen to him, because as the photographer, kind of what he says on set goes. He's like a director, like you can certainly offer up suggestions, but it's not your place to like fully argue. I mean, the same as you would with any boss. Like, there has to be that certain amount of like trust, respect, and we figured, I think, a lot of that early on, and that served us well through all of these things.
Yeah. Top 5 places, I would say Niue is definitely up there. Mm-hmm. Loved it for cruising. Really liked parts of Panama. The fact that we could be in these little islands like Bocas del Toro and then go up into the mountains, the cloud forest of Boquete, and taste coffee that was, just incredible. Like, what an experience.
I think Panama, it just sticks with him simply because of the coffee experience.
Marquesas, like, I don't know if there's anything that's better than the other. The Cook Islands, I think, are definitely up there, specifically Rarotonga. Like, for sailing, it sucked because you're in that...
Yeah, it was not a good spot to be.
No.
Actually... Cook Islands in general, like Aituataki and all the rest of it, great for visiting, not necessarily the best places to sail to, but we loved it once we were there, and like you kind of just deal with the frustrations of your location because you feel like it's
funny, we were talking about that maybe a couple weeks ago, and I think Raro is probably one of our favorite places if we had to settle down somewhere. Like, we talked about, like, because it's got that like good mix of island vibe and city, like,
it has just enough civilization but in the islands, like really remote island with just the right amount of civilization. And that's it. It had, which is sort of like Hawaii, but it's not nearly as
built up or
as intense as Hawaii is with tourism.
Yeah.
So it still has that, probably like Hawaii was back in like maybe the 60s or
40
70s.
years ago. Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah, and so it's hard to find that anymore. Or you find the really remote, isolated stuff like Niue, and it's awesome because nobody goes there. And then you think, it's so difficult to get here, but man, is it worth the journey? And I would take my 4 days over nothing for the time that we had there. So yeah, and we really, really, really loved Ecuador.
Yeah, the food.
But look, it's like now you're starting to get into like closer to South America.
Yeah.
And we actively had to make a very hard choice at that point because we had friends, Skeleton Crew Sailing, who were really saying like, you guys should come do the Cape.
Peru.
Come do the Cape with us. Like, come sail with us the rest of the way. And we were very tempted because we loved it all through there. And we thought, but we thought, no, if we don't leave, we'll stay in this area for years.
We can do that later in a van or something.
Exactly. So we were like, if we don't move on right now, we will get stuck in this zone right here because we loved it there. So yeah, was that over 5?
There you go. That was All right, I gotta check the camera again.
We'll call this the lightning round. Then.
Ooh,
How about
lightning
that?
round. Okay.
Okay. So then we have to work fast.
I gotta have another drink.
Okay. Okay. Edwin Lancaster, how do you both not get sunburnt? Your skin always looks so great.
Stay in the shade as much as possible. Wear good sunscreen.
Wear a lot of clothes. Yeah.
Big hats, long sleeves.
Yeah.
Boom. Lightning round.
Look forward to zinc-based sunscreen, which is
non-nano.
Non-nano, very important. Mineral-based sunscreens, they do work a lot better than the chemical stuff. Anywho, okay, you will look like a 70s lifeguard though most of the time. Even the ones that say don't turn you white, they still live a white cast. Yeah. Anyway,
Catamaran with a big hard top. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Mike Peterson, look forward to the video. I know you guys work hard to earn your dollars in various ways, and I have a sense that you put a lot of time, bingo, on not just producing videos, but all the other aspects of boating life. How much of your waking hours, percentage-wise, do you get to do the fun stuff like we see in the videos versus all the other things that have to be done to make it all work? Are you happy with the mix?
Well, first of all, if it wasn't for you guys, we would spend way more time pitching companies trying to get like this boatyard to give us discounts, and we'd have to do stuff for the boatyard to make them happy, and then we could maybe get 20% off of our,
which is how we spent a lot of our early RVing days. We didn't make a lot of video content, we didn't do a lot of blog posts. That's because we were busy working for other people. We were making a video for that campground, or we were doing this, that, or the other. So it was just a totally different way of earning our money. I liked that a lot less.
Yeah, way less.
Absolutely. So this is us we get to choose actively what we want to put out into the world every single week. That is a beautiful thing. Yes, we work really hard, and we spend, it's kind of like anybody else who has a full-time hardcore job, right? Like, it's not just
about 10 to 12 hours a day every day, and we get 1 day off.
2 days off.
2 days off. 1 day is usually for groceries and chores like laundry and just your normal daily chores, and then 1 day to actually play.
And there's probably there's a good percentage of our life that we don't film, and then there's the stuff that we choose to show you. So we don't show the monotonous stuff. Every once in a while we will, just to remind you that we do that, like laundry or something else, because it's interesting to see how we do that on a boat. Yeah, but it's not something we want to sit down and just hammer. That's the boring stuff to us. It's not interesting. It's not fun. It just is what it is. Anyway. Good call. So I would say 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
We work 80% of the time. We get to go play 20% of the time, maybe. Sometimes more, sometimes less. It just depends. Right now, a lot of work.
90-10 maybe.
But that's okay because we're leading up to the good stuff. It all works out. Paul, what did you learn from staying on the recent guest boats that you're going to bring or change on Curiosity? Honestly, I thought about this one because it wasn't freaking much. It made me realize how certain things we've done on this boat, like
all electric,
not having
induction,
propane. Yep.
Ooh.
like using it, the kitchens would get so
Oh,
hot.
you have to close all the hatches because the wind would blow the flame. And then every time you reached for a spice, my hair would burn and it would smell bad.
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
other
what
people
is
didn't.
this?
They didn't have lithium. We do. It's
Yeah.
like it's all of a sudden it was like this reverting back to other technology that we realized why we didn't go with that and why we don't use that anymore because it's not as good. Like on Zatar, they had to run the generator a lot. That's also just because of the way that they choose to live and the way that they like running the air conditioner a lot and that kind of stuff. No knocks on that whatsoever. They'll eventually get lithium whenever they get somewhere they can do that, and that will make a huge difference for them. But we have had a long time in the RV to figure a lot of that stuff out too, so we have kind of a leg up on the lifestyle thing. There were certain things that Mark did on his boat that I was like, oh, that's actually pretty smart. Like, but I mean, he's the smart cookie. He's been a fisherman for a long time, so it was just like practicality things. I can't think of it it was like an organization type of thing, the way he would clean. He just really stayed on top of things. I think that was mostly it. Like he had a list. He would make 3 things for the day. 3 things. He didn't make a gigantic list. He did 3 things that he knew he could accomplish that day. Yeah. And so I think it was like a prioritization of how to run a boat. I learned a lot from him on that aspect. So props to Mark. Kate Humphreys, could you please tell us what exercise you do aboard to stay in such great shape?
Oh God, oh man, when we were in Fiji, we exercised a lot. We did yoga and like exercise classes online and like just
there's
running on the beach and walking on the beach and lots of burpees.
Lots of burpees.
Lots of burpees.
We would do that, and we did that because we had the time to, because we didn't have a boat to maintain or anything like that. We mostly just set about and we either tried to keep ourselves really busy on other things, exercise, so that we didn't think about the world and what was going on and the fact that we weren't doing what we needed to be doing. The
past month or two, it's been, we've been lucky to go out for a quick run, and
it's been a lot of boat work, so we're really tired by the end of the day, but it's not because we were necessarily we were physical, but in a different way. It's more like your back hurts, so
Yeah, and like I dive into video editing and then I just get lost, and then before we know it, it's 8 o'clock at night, and then we got to eat really quickly so we can go to bed and get up at 6. It's like, and that's not a complaint. It's just it happens, and it feels terrible because you think,
okay, but let's go back. Let's go back pre all of this before we left the boat, because we didn't really. We would do like resistance bands and stuff, mostly on passage because you feel like you need to move and exercise. Otherwise, we swam and snorkeled, or we'd go for a hike. We were out exploring enough that kind of took care of the exercise stuff.
Yeah, and if I was like having a long day or something and I wanted to get some exercise, I'd jump in and I'd swim around the boat like 5 times, and then it's amazing how much you can bring up your heart rate. Just like swimming as fast as you can.
Especially if the current's ripping. I mean, it's like one of those infinity pools. Like you can really get at it. So your environment provides a lot of exercise without having it to be like exercise. We are not good at that. Yeah. Okay. But we're still not very fast at any of this. Okay. This is why we don't do real-time stuff. Michael Warden, it's been inspiring to witness the ways you two have faced challenges and difficulties of various kinds, from bureaucratic red tape, holy moly, is there a lot of that, to corruption, to boat issues, to seasickness, to bridging cultural divides and more. I think we'd all be curious to hear what core principles or beliefs you've come to live by that have really helped you navigate through tough situations.
We just try to be as just good Americans, like touring and people, like we just try to be good guests.
Yeah.
I guess that's really what it boils down to.
You're owed nothing.
Yeah.
You're asking to please come in and experience something. So you're knowing that you're a guest.
Yeah. And I've been that jerk in France that's like, parlez-vous anglais? No? Oh, well, hey, do you have any, red wine? Just like, I've been that jerk, and I know that I've been that jerk, and I am sorry, Mr. Frenchman at the store, because you didn't have a Bialetti espresso maker for me. So now, like, we try to learn a few things that can, we can speak to people and we can be as nice as we possibly can.
Always reminding ourselves of that, because, like, if you get a little frustrated or whatever, because somebody doesn't have something or they're not doing it fast enough or anything like that, you remind yourself, It is not my right to be here. It is a privilege to be here. So it's like, it's checking that. It's checking your privilege all the time. And it really is true. Like, we're incredibly fortunate.
Lucky and fortunate.
And so much far beyond, like, the places we visit, right? They're underdeveloped countries. They live very differently from us. It is a constant reminder of how good we have it, the advantages that we have. And so it's just, that's enough for us. I guess it's the constant reminder of, what do you have to complain about, really? Yeah. And then you kind of check it, and then you go, okay, I need to adjust my attitude, because we certainly have those moments, and we do have to check ourselves frequently to maintain. Yeah. Okay. There is several about cooking, a recipe book, and everything else. I have been mulling that over a lot, trying to figure out. Honestly, it's a time thing. The other big thing is I cook by braille, if that's such a thing.
I think I mentioned in a video recently, like, I literally can't do anything in the kitchen because she's like, well, no, you did this, or I'm like, well, how do you make this thing? She's like, well, you just put that and that together and da-da-da.
Which is not helpful. He's like, how can I replicate something if you, like, Jason's very much a recipe person.
Yeah. Give me a recipe, I'll nail that.
Because he can follow instructions, right? But, so anyway.
You want enchiladas with feta? Oh, that's good. I can do it if I got a recipe. Okay.
But yeah, the moment you're out of parsley and there's parsley included in the recipe,
it's over.
Got to start over. Give me something else.
Remember that tantrum I was just talking about? Yeah.
No, the requests are there. I am trying to be very cognizant about writing things down that I think are staples that we use over and over. So it is something I'm working on, somewhat in the background, and it's just trying to get, like, photographs and remembering when I'm cooking to tell Jason, like, okay, we got to document this.
Maybe when we're back on the water, maybe.
Yeah, life will be a little less crazy, but I have been at least writing certain things down, so I am working on it. You just keep pushing me. Keep pushing me. Otherwise, I'll let it slide.
And listen, this is our favorite time of night.
Is it exactly? Yeah, it's 7 o'clock.
Just after the sun sets, the cicadas or the crickets or whatever they are come out and just pulse so loud, and the birds are happy and the bats are flying and the sky is magical. And it's
about a half an hour, and then it's all quiet again.
Yeah. What about the naked one?
Oh, did I pass that one? Oh yeah, okay.
Cheeky question. I saw a cheeky
Martin.
question. I saw naked. I'm just a guy. I don't know. What do you expect?
My husband and I have decided that we would have naked day if we were sailing in the middle of nowhere. Do you guys have naked days? Yes, we're just not the type of people to actually put that on video, even if we blur it out and everything else. It's just not our style. So we've never shown that on camera, but absolutely, we had a couple of really beautiful days, and I'm not, like, I sleep in clothes. I don't like sleeping naked. This is probably TMI. I don't know. Maybe
we were raised very conservatively. We're from Texas. It's just the way that.
Yeah, but like, Jason's a very free person. He would be very apt, because I guarantee you, he was probably one of the kids that ran around naked a lot.
Yeah, maybe it's a kid, because
but that's what I mean. Like, even
mom,
as a kid, I didn't run around naked. Like, my grandmother was always about, like, you put clothes on. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's so ingrained in me. But we absolutely, like, when we're out there and there's nothing around. You haven't even seen a marine life for days. But we have totally done the naked thing, because you're like, I can. When else can you walk outside and be buck naked and it doesn't matter?
And a couple times on anchor, and it's so incredible. You just walk out and you're like, look at this. I rule the world.
It's very weird to have that much airflow around you. John and Deb, while COVID seems to have been fairly low-key in Fiji, for many of us it has upended our lives. Yada, yada, yada. I don't see post-COVID life ever being quite the same for us, though we'll continue to be full-time RV. How are you guys feeling about this new world? So on and so forth. Are you planning to change anything about your travel? COVID has changed everything. It has upended everybody's lives. Don't assume because we're in a COVID-free country that it hasn't affected these people and ourselves. We were stranded for 6 months, had no choice in where we got to go. It was very expensive. The whole thing was highly stressful. Our emotional states were all over.
Yeah.
Mine was all over the map. So it doesn't mean it hasn't affected us, but I'm not going to get on camera and complain about that because everybody's dealing with the same crap. The best thing that I can do for you, because it's what I enjoy the most when I tune into TV, YouTube, or something else, I need something to help keep me happy and remind me that there is positivity and hope in the world. And so that's what I focus on. And but there's no jobs, there's no money. Every resort here is absolutely in the tank. Like most businesses, there's no restaurants open anymore.
Yeah.
Even the Happy Pizza place that we included in one of our last, they have since closed down. That's kind of a sad story. Anyway, it's constant.
Yeah.
And people are doing the best that they can to stay upbeat and positive. But so for a lot of people, it's really tough. And the future of travel is definitely, who the heck knows?
Yeah.
So we don't plan. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
We're rolling with it no matter what. My house still moves, and I absolutely choose that path because wherever I can go, I'll go there. If I can only stay in one country, then so be it. Like,
As
just
long as
roll
they'll let me
with
stay
it.
here, we'll stay. Yeah.
Yeah, you just roll with it. So, yeah, it's very uncertain. That's it. That's all I know. It's uncertain. Cecil Lee.
Cecil.
I always, because Cecil is a very
Common Texas
Midwest name.
Yeah.
So it's spelled exactly the same. So instead of saying Cecil, because you're from Singapore, I always want to say
Cecil.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so Cecil Lee. How did the two of you end up together? Who made the first move, and how did you convince the other that you were serious and you were someone you would be willing to commit to? We'll end on that one because it's a good one.
Okay.
And this is now acting as our
this
line.
is our lighting
Yeah.
here. So I guess neither one of us really liked each other. I thought she was the B word, and then she thought I was cocky and arrogant, and probably
As you
both
were.
were true. We met at Starbucks. My friends worked there, and I used to have these parties, and we would meet at Starbucks and have coffee with my friends before we went and had these parties. And finally, Nikki came in one day, and my friend kept hitting on her, asking her to my parties. And then finally one day I sat down and I was like, "Yo, ladies, you coming to my party?"
And we were like, no.
But eventually they came to my party, or she came to my party, and she fell in love with me. The end.
Yeah, this is not how it went. It took a long time. He was like a fungus. He just slowly grew on me and refused to go away. It's like mold. It's an uphill battle. Eventually you just give up. No.
But I was not pursuing her. Let's just be clear. You loved me first.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's how we ended up. Whatever. Our first date was at a Chili's where we got crammed in. Well, I got crammed into the little one-person booth where it's one person on each side, but still a booth.
Now, if you've ever been at Chili's, they have these seats where you're just they're one-person seats, and you sit across from each other.
That's what I just
Yeah,
said.
but just to be clear,
I sat
gonna be
down,
tremendous.
and Jason smashes in next to me because this was not supposed to be a date. We were just simply waiting on our friends to get off of work. And he squishes next to me, and I look at him, and I was like, no.
the waitress came by. She said, "Oh, can I get you guys something to drink?" I said, yeah. One milkshake, 2 straws.
Not making that up. And to which I again responded with, no. And he was like, oh yeah.
And then, of course, what did I say? I was like, well, you can drink out of the extra. They give you the silver thing that has extras. I'm like, well, you can drink out of that if you want, but otherwise, you're sharing this one with me.
And somehow we ended up married.
Yep.
I don't know.
8 years later.
Yeah.
Or so, eight or so years.
And that's the highly abbreviated version
Yeah.
because it did take months for us to even tolerate each other. The other would show up and we would all be looking at our friends going why do you always invite her? Why do you always invite them? Nobody likes them. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for all of the questions. I am sorry we are so late with this one. Expect another one again very soon. I know you probably have more real-time questions. So,
And let us know if you like this style, and if it's too long, too short,
Yeah.
like just I don't know. We're just sort of feeling through this with you guys because it's really for you.
Yep. So, suggestions are always welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. Love to all of you. Thank you so much for your support. See you on
Bye-bye.
Sunday.